everyone go ahead and create a document. Let's make this one square. Make a new document in Illustrator. And this one we're going to type, what should we call this? It's not really a lab assignment. Not this particular one anyway. Let's just do demo-02, I think this is, and then your first name, last initial. A number of artboards, we'll do one. And as far as the size, let's do a 10 by 10 square. That way we're kind of working in a space. It's okay if it's CMYK, and let's go ahead and do inches so that we have a unit that we're familiar with.
One artboard, and then what was the rest of it?
What was that? Oh, the dimensions, 10 by 10 inches. One artboard, yes. Some of you guys might have seen Illustrator was trying to pull up multiple artboards again, because that was the last time you worked on it. Illustrator's kind enough to remember that for you, although it's not always what you want it to do. Some things get defaulted, like a shape, you know, is filled with black, or is stroked with black and filled with white, but other things Illustrator remembers. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring that design back up, and you'll see that one of the petals, right, if you kind of dissect this, you'll see that really we're starting with sort of what looks kind of like an oval shape going on there, right? And there are a lot of different ways to do that. You know, you could create a small little stroke with rounded caps, remember that? But then you'd kind of have to eyeball it, right? You'd have to get those rounded caps to be perfect. Well, I sort of dissected this thing and I figured out how Apple did it, so that's what we're going to do. And basically, everyone go ahead and select your ellipse tool, which again is one of the shape tools in your tool panel. And if you hold down the Option key and click once, you'll get the ellipse dialog box. And let's go ahead and do 1.5 by 1.5.
How'd you get the box?
Option click. Option click with the ellipse tool.
Oh, okay.
Then we get something like this. All right? Does everyone kind of have the same thing? Now, I'm going to use Illustrator Smart Guides to make my next move. Okay? Now, this is where the bounding box. Your computer.
Oh, yeah, it was being really slow, so I was restarting.
Oh, okay. Is everyone kind of at that same stage? It doesn't matter where your circle is right now on the artboard, but what we do want is an 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch. So remember a while ago I talked about the bounding box and how sometimes having the bounding box in the way is not always ideal to getting you know, stuff done. And if you were to just try, so what I want to do is make a copy of this circle, right? I want to copy this circle while dragging it to the exact center of the existing circle. But if I have my bounding box showing and I try to do that, you see I can't actually grab that top anchor point. It tries to squish my object using the bounding box. So what you can do in this case is either, there's two options. You can turn off your bounding box, number one, okay? Does anyone remember the keyboard shortcut for that?
Command-Shift-B.
Command-Shift-B, that's right. So by using Command-Shift-B, my object is still selected, but the bounding box is no longer there, okay? So that's the method I'm going to use here, just to keep moving along. So now I can hover my mouse over that top anchor point, and you'll know I'm right over it when you see the word anchor appear. And I'm going to hold the Option key down. Everyone go ahead and...
How'd you get rid of the bounding box?
Command-Shift-B.
Command-Shift-B.
So I'm going to hold over the, or I'm going to hold my Option key. I haven't clicked yet. I'm just holding my Option key. And then I'm also going to hold my Shift key down in conjunction with that. And I realize I'm not giving you guys all those keyboard shortcuts. There we go. So I've got the Option key held and the Shift key down. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a duplicate as I click and drag, and it's going to constrain my movement to a perfect 90 degrees so it doesn't go left or right. That's what the Shift key is doing. The Option key is creating the duplicate. The Shift key is constraining my movement to either 90 or 45 degrees. So I click on that anchor and I accidentally clicked, it was already selected, but now I click, and as I drag down, it's creating a copy, and at the same time, the Shift key is making sure that it's perfectly straight. So drag it down to where it snaps right to the center of your other circle. Now you should have two circles that look like mine overlap. Now notice I was using the selection tool, not the direct selection tool, because if you were using the direct selection tool, obviously it would have just grabbed that one anchor point and tried moving that instead of your whole circle. Okay, has everyone got the same thing on screen here? Okay, so the next step is to get the rectangle tool to combine these. I'm going to do something to combine these two objects, okay? To make that leaf or that one petal of the flower. So once you're on the rectangle tool, hover over the leftmost anchor of either circle, but let's do the top one just to all be on the same book and page. And then go ahead and click and drag from that anchor to the anchor on the right edge of the bottom circle. Okay? And now you guys should have something like this. Looks like a pill. A couple lines going across it, right? A little stubby pill, some sort of thing like that. That's what it looks like. Okay, so now if you go into outline view, you'll see that our objects are still there. It doesn't quite look the same when we're in preview mode because we have fills on our shapes. But if I go into outline mode, you'll see that indeed there's two circles with the rectangle overlapping both of them. All right, let's go back to preview mode. And next, there's several different ways we can combine these, right? If you guys remember, using the Pathfinder panel, I can select all of my objects. In this case, I use a marquee selection by dragging across them. And then I can open up my Transform panel by clicking on Window from the menu bar, scrolling down to where I see Pathfinder, and then bringing that panel up. And who remembers which one of these will combine all of these things into one shape? Unite, which is the first one, exactly. And you can see even the icon kind of looks like that. So if I click on Unite, I now have the petal of my flower. Okay? That's one way to do it. But I want to introduce you guys to another tool that is in your toolbar that allows you to do Pathfinder type options. Okay? So I'm going to undo that because I know what I want to get. I know that's an easy way to get there. There's also this other thing in the toolbar here called the Shape Builder tool. You guys see that over here? It looks like two little circles with dots inside of it, kind of overlapping. If I just click once on that Shape Builder tool, I will of course have the Shape Builder tool active. And look what happens when I hover over my object. It's recognizing these little pieces where they overlap, okay? And there's a lot of different ways you can use the Shape Builder tool. If you click and drag across all, or I should say not all, if you try to click and drag across the objects, and you can do that at any weird angle, look what happens when you let go. Look what happened here. I'm going to click away from my object so you can see it didn't quite combine everything, right? But it created this cool combination of the shapes that it did overlap. So whatever shapes it did overlap, it's already compounded and pathfindered out all of these cool little things. That's actually kind of cool. Like you can rotate it on its side, and I might create a font out of that. That's the letter M right there. Like
the other
that.
way looks like a 3.
Yeah, it's got the 3, the W, the M. All right, so that's kind of what the Shape Builder tool does. If you're not telling it to grab everything. Okay, undo that and go back to where you were having 3 shapes overlapping each other. Now, This time, go ahead and click and drag holding the Shift key down. And actually, you don't have to do the Shift key. What you can do, let me undo that. Holding the Shift key down, drag across all three objects this time, and you'll see that the Shape Builder has now combined them the same way that Pathfinder did into one object. There's a lot more you can do with the Shape Builder tool, obviously, depending on the complexity of your object, right? You could really get this thing to clip away these really neat sections of complex overlapping artwork just by doing that. So we're not going to go into great detail with the Shape Builder tool now. Lesson 3 is the lesson in the book. If you haven't already done it, kind of jumping ahead. Lesson 3 is the lesson that has more on Shape Builder, and so it'll give you a little more understanding on it. If you want to, I recommend you jump into that lesson. I'm not going to make that an assigned lesson, but I do recommend that you do review it when you have an opportunity, because Lesson 3 has good stuff on the Shape Builder tool, as well as the width tool, which I hope to get into a little bit tonight. Okay, so here we've a couple of different ways to create this compound path. If I go into outline view, you'll see it indeed is. There's no more circles and rectangles in there. It's just the shape. Okay, so we have that first petal. So who can tell me how I might create the remaining petals that wrap around? Alicia.
You can rotate them and copy.
Rotate and copy. That's exactly right. So the exact distance, I don't know. I mean, I probably could have measured what Apple did to create that perfect little circle inside. I'm just going to eyeball it to keep us moving forward. But that's exactly right. We can use the rotate tool to rotate this object 45 degrees each time. If we go back to preview, you'll see indeed we have 90 or 0, or I guess that's 90 there, and this indeed is 45, and then 0, and then 45. So it's 45 degrees is what this object has been rotated to create that. So I've selected my rotate tool, the tool panel, and again I am going to option click, I'd say about a 1/4 inch underneath my my first petal here. I'm going to option click in there, and I'm going to rotate that 45 degrees, and you'll see by clicking on the preview button it showed me a 45 degree rotation there. But I'm going to hit the copy button so that it makes a copy. And then I can continue that by either going to Object from the menu bar, and then you select Transform and Transform again, and doing that multiple times. But I just saw the keyboard shortcut, so I'm going to hit that keyboard shortcut a few more times until I finish my little flower motif here. Everyone see that? There you go. Yep. There. Yep. Command D, looking good. Everyone's got the motif going. Okay. So now we've got the flower. So now if I go into View Outline, you'll see that, gosh, that thing is pretty much looking like the Apple version, except without color, right? Went into Outline View. I mean, we're pretty much there. Again, what I love about that logo from Apple is it probably wasn't the design of it that took a long time. You see, we're getting through it pretty quick already. It's probably the concept that took the longest, right? I mean, coming up with the idea and being original with such a common-looking thing, gosh, that's a challenge. Okay, so now we go back into preview mode, and of course we still have this filled with white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually fill each one of these with a different color so I can take that stroke off. And so you can use any colors in your swatches panel. Notice I have my swatches panel open here. I'm selecting this top one. I'm going to put the yellowish green in there. The next one, I'll put a dark green in there. I'll put a different teal, purple, just a different color in all of these. I'm just clicking on them and then filling them with a different color for each one. I'm not too worried yet about the specific colors. I'm gonna grab those from Apple a little bit later. So now I'm going to select all of my objects. Watch this. I don't think we've done this one. You probably have done this one with your design project, but I'm selecting all of them. And if you look down here in my fill icon in my tool panel, you'll see there's a question mark there. Why is there a question mark when I select all of them? I selected all of them, and if I look at my fill icon in the control panel, there's a question mark. Anyone know why they're?
They're all different.
Because they're all different, right? Illustrator's like, well, you select a bunch of different stuff. I don't know what you want, so there's a question mark there. But if you look at the stroke icon, you'll see that that is indeed filled black on all of them. And because I have all of these objects selected at the same time, I can just hit the none, or the backspace key, or forward slash key. I mean, not backspace, forward slash, to fill that, or to apply none or nothing to the stroke. And now you see I've just got solid objects going on here. Okay. So now I'm going to reselect all of those objects there because I want to break these into different pieces. Now, some of you guys were probably being a little adventurous and maybe were referencing that Apple image that I showed to try to fill approximately the same colors. Maybe not. I didn't. But if I select all of these, right, I can certainly try to explore the transparency palette and see what we come up with. If we go to, you can click on the transparency panel with all of them selected, and then click on the blending mode drop down to bring up, and I'm going to try overlay. And you'll see that overlay is already starting to do some of the stuff that the Apple icon is doing. But indeed, it's not going to be perfect, right? There's no way that applying blending modes, even if we pick the right colors, there's no way those blending modes are going to render that exact. I mean, the one you have there looks pretty neat there, Alexis, that top left, the way the yellow and the green are working together. But that's probably not what they did. They were very deliberate about the colors that they dropped in there. So I'm just showing you that you could start with some overlay effects, but that's really not what I think ended up happening to create that logo. So I'm going to change my blending mode back to normal so that I've got these working shapes. Okay. This is where things can get kind of tricky, right? You can certainly select all of your objects, and going back to your Pathfinder panel, you can click on the Divide Pathfinder, and what that's going to do is it's going to take all of these objects and divide them all up into individual objects. So let's do that first. Go ahead and select all of them, and then click on the Divide button. And you'll see it all pretty much looks the same until you click away from it. If you click away from it, I don't know if you can see it on screen here. I'm going to zoom in a bit.
Do you have to select it first?
Yes. Nothing will apply unless it has something to apply to. Okay. So you guys notice that on screen? Yeah, you can't see it. You see this on screen? There's little anomalies, like visual references of where these. So you can kind of tell that this has been Pathfinder. But if I click on it with my selection tool, notice it's all been compounded into one object. When I did that divide, it turned it into a compound object. And so all of these are kind of grouped together. So with it selected, go ahead and go to Object from the menu bar and then Ungroup. And now when you click on anywhere on the shapes, they're all individual pieces, right? But watch this. Let's see if this worked right. If I take one of these little inside overlapped pieces and move it out of the way, you'll see that, well, indeed it did work correctly, right? There's nothing in there. This is filled with, it's white because that's the white of the paper back there. If I move this one, indeed that's an individual shape as well. Right.
So if they're not moving individually, you didn't do it.
You didn't ungroup it, or you didn't do a Pathfinder correctly.
Which one was stick like in Pathfinder? The inner side?
What's that?
Which one was stick like in Pathfinder?
So once you have them all selected, we did a divide pathfinder, which is in the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, so here I've gone back to my shapes. I've undone my moves a couple of times. What I did is I selected them all using my selection tool, not direct selection, and then clicked on the divide pathfinder. Okay?
You did ungroup.
And once you do that, if you click away from your object and then try to click back on it with the selection tool, you'll notice that all of them are grouped together. So you want to ungroup them by hitting Command-Shift-G. Will ungroup them. That's the keyboard shortcut for ungroup. Command-G is the keyboard shortcut for group. Okay, so now each of these is individual shape. Now we can actually start applying colors to each of these pieces to get the motif that we indeed desire. So I'm going to go ahead and save this while we're here. We've made a lot of steps. Probably should have already saved a few times. I am going to...
Should we save this?
Yeah, you certainly can, just so you don't lose it. You're not going to turn in this assignment, but save it along the way so you're not potentially losing it. And I'm going to save it in my demo folder.
Mine says it's ungrouped, but it's not.
And so let me go ahead and save this. All right. Just go ahead and watch the video for a bit, Robin, and then that way you'll not miss anything as we move along. All right, I'm going to fit my artboard to window so that I've got a little space to work with. Because I'm going to import, or I'm going to place that photo that I showed you guys earlier. And again, you saw where it's located. It might take a bit for you guys to find it, but if you go to Place or File from the menu bar, and then Place, there is one called this iOS photo that you guys found earlier. Go ahead and click that to select and place that. Make sure that the link box is not selected because I'm going to want this embedded. I don't want it to be referenced by Illustrator. I want it to actually be part of my document. So I click on place, and now we have this. Okay? Does everyone kind of have that same thing? Then move it out of the way so you can see all of your artwork. Yeah, exactly, Alexis. Just kind of move it out of the way so you can see all of the pieces of your vector artwork. If you guys want to, you got, Robin, I'm recording this, so you'll be able to reference this afterwards. Let's go ahead and keep moving so that, because I want to get into some width tool stuff too. Okay. So now watch this, you guys. I'm really going to cheat this here, but I want to show you the handiness of the eyedropper tool. Starting from the top, go ahead and click on that top piece. In my artwork, it's yellow. And then in the toolbar, go ahead and select the eyedropper tool. I have my artwork selected. I've now clicked on the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click on this photo right up here in this orange shape of the actual artwork that I'm trying to copy. And I've clicked on that, and it's filled my vector object with the color right from this photo or raster object. You guys see how I did that? And go ahead and continue that pattern for each of these other shapes. Now remember the keyboard shortcut for bringing up your selection tool. Hold down the command key. You don't have to go back up here to get your selection tool and then click on it, and then go back to the eyedropper tool. You don't have to do that. By simply holding down on the command key, even with the eyedropper tool selected, your selection tool will appear. And this will allow you to quickly select through all of the objects in your the shapes in your object. And then when you let go, you can continue moving around to eyedrop those additional colors. I'm going around the perimeter first and stealing all those colors right from that document. And voila, I've got the perimeter, except for this yellow here. I've got the perimeter filled the same. Now I'm going to move to the pointy petals on the inside and eyedrop those colors to continue working those into place. And then as you get the hang of this, move to the inside overlapping shapes and do the same thing. Does everyone see what I'm doing there? Any questions on that process?
Does, ask a question?
Uh-huh.
This one is going to be the same color as that one. This little thing.
I believe so, yes. Good question, because it's hard to see with this low-resolution photo. But Alicia's question was, this little piece here, these little tiny triangles inside, what color are they going to be? Well, these should probably be the same color as this one on the outside because nothing is overlapping there. So yeah, good question. That's what I would do, at least. So I'm going to continue on in mine. Some of these are hard to get into without the zoom, but I think I can do it. And as I go around, I'm stealing the colors right out of that piece using the eyedropper tool. And once everyone is there, I want to make sure everyone's kind of caught up, and then I'm going to show you a little extra trick about the eyedropper tool. Yeah, you're right, Alicia. It's hard to get in there, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Notice the space bar brings up my hand tool so I can quickly move around my artwork. I'm going to select this little guy, that. Oops. There we go.
What colors are you making them?
The same as the outermost petal from its petal, basically, from its shape.
One of yours though on accident.
I did. I think I changed this one. Let me see if that was the one. Oh, this is the one I changed right there. Okay. So voila! Lo and behold, you guys should be pretty much within 20 minutes have completely replicated an international icon from the latest operating system Apple's delivered. All right. So that eyedropper tool can be really handy, and I'll show you another way that you can use the eyedropper tool. Okay. Once you get to a breaking point, I'm just going to create a new shape. In this case, it's going to be a rectangle, just to demonstrate the eyedropper tool. I'm holding the Shift key down to create a perfect square. With my square still selected, I'm going to click again on the eyedropper tool. And what's kind of neat about this eyedropper tool is you can borrow colors not only from other shapes, but actually anywhere on your computer. If you if you click and drag the eyedropper tool around, you will be able to pull colors from anywhere on your computer. So I'm going to actually drag it down here over this, let's see, how about this, something that's different. It's already green. How about the blue from the PS icon there? When I let go, well, quite there. When I let go, if it's all working right, I actually accidentally launched it. You can actually pull colors right from your computer. Let's go back to Illustrator here and sort of drag around. You got to click and drag around, and you'll see that it's Alicia, are you guys laughing at me back there? It's that I'm like, why isn't it changing to the color? It's because I'm using that little it blinks whenever I click, and so that's why it keeps turning pink. So if I turn that off, let's see if this does it. I guarantee it'll work this time. Now, all right, now I'm clicking and dragging, and look at this. It's actually picking colors right off of my operating system icon bar. So if there's something I like, for instance, I'm like, oh, this blue's kind of neat. Well, if I click on my artboard and then actually start dragging outside of Illustrator's window, look at my in the bottom left-hand corner. It might be hard to see, but look at the bottom left-hand corner. You'll see my my fill swatch changing there as I drag that that around, and now lo and behold, indeed, I've picked a color not from within my document, but outside of my document to pull those colors into my Illustrator file. It's just a little trick about the eyedropper tool to let you know if you've got a big monitor and you maybe have a photo open on on your desktop or something. You can pick colors right from that photo using the eyedropper tool without actually having to open it and bring it into Illustrator. All right. So any questions on that? On the process at this stage? I did tape this, so I'll remember to put it on YouTube and then put it in Canvas so that you guys can reference it. But yes, we've recreated this icon using the pathfinders. So any questions on that? No? What's that?
We recreated that a little too late before it was great.
Oh, before it was great? I know. I wish it would have been an original design and then we submitted it for big royalties, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to delete that. I'm just going to save it. You guys can feel free to save it so you can reference this in the future. And now you can see how using individual shapes, we've created this faux kind of overlay effect. That's a little bit on color. The way these what are they? They're not. They're analogous colors are working together, not complementary, but analogous kind of work together to create that effect. Okay.
How'd you get your paths off there?
My paths?
Yeah.
No, these are paths. If you go to outline mode, you'll see these are all shapes, basically.
Never mind. For some reason I got strokes.
Oh, okay. Strokes. Yeah, you can still, even if you have all of these objects stroked, you can still undo the stroke by hitting, filling your stroke with none, and you'll be fine there. Okay. So I'm going to save it and close it, create a new document. And again, in lesson 1, and my new document is again going to be 10 by 10. Okay? And again, lesson 3 will cover some of this stuff. So, feel free to review lesson 3 if you're interested in using some of these tools, the shape builder tool, and then what I'm about to demonstrate here. Okay. So, if you guys look here, I'm going to do, yeah, Colton.
Is this next one a lab?
No, this is more just lecture demo stuff.
Okay, cool.
So this document, I am going to save it though as demo 03 Caesar L. All right, just so in case, I'm going to try to save often so I don't lose anything I do. Okay, so you notice there are several different tools under the line segment tool that you can do. I think it was the first week we explored the arc tool and I think I demonstrated the rectangle grid tool. But the primary one that you see here is the line segment tool. And that's just a real simple, quick way to draw a straight line. Unlike paths where you can create Bezier curves, this is just something that allows you to do a quick straight line if that's all you're needing to do. So if you guys would create a one-point stroke, a one-point line, and just have it be straight, single segment, so that it's a little easier to demonstrate what we're looking at here. All right. So in the tool panel here, you have near the middle what's called the width tool. And what the width tool does, I'm going to have a hard time saying that, especially since my lips are dry. Oh, I'm being watered. I'm being watered today. The width, maybe I should get rid of my gum. I do gum as a courtesy to you guys in case you have me come over your shoulder. I don't want to have, tacos Jalisco breath or whatever I have for dinner. But the width tool is a tool that allows you to adjust the widths of your lines. Do you guys remember, everyone go ahead and open up your stroke panel for a second. I have mine open already. Go ahead and open up that stroke panel. And you remember down at the bottom you have the the profiles that you can use. It's also going to be available up here in your control panel if your line segment is selected. Make sure your line segment is selected for all of these things to be active. If you click on that profile drop down and then click one of these other options, it's actually going to change the profile of your line. Now, because we have this set at 1 point, you can't really tell, but if I change this to 20 points, now look at my line. It's still a straight line. If I go to outline view, outline mode, it's still a straight line. It doesn't have those waves built into it through shapes. It's just a line segment, but the profile of that line has been modified using one of the pre-built profiles here in Illustrator. Okay, and there are several. Now, I'm going to undo that twice, so I go back to just a single line with a uniform width, meaning it's going to be the same thickness all the way through. And by clicking on my width tool, I can actually create my own profiles. All right? So if I click and drag anywhere on my line, but I'm going to start at the bottom for now. If I click and drag to the right or left, it actually changes the width profile of my line. I've done that. It looks like a triangle. You might mistake this for a triangular shape, but indeed, if I go into outline mode, you will see that it is indeed just a single line. What's happened, though, is by dragging outward, I've created these what are called handles. Just like in a path, you have these handles that you can manipulate, and you can change them after the fact. You can continue this at any point in your line. So here I've created another one in the middle. I've got this tapering thing, and I've gone to the top. Now I've created my own custom profile in this case that sort of has this hourglass kind of shape to it. Got it? With your with that selected, you can actually save this to your profiles by clicking on the profile drop-down while it's selected, right? In case you want to create this and use it in future projects, here at the bottom of your profile panel that appears, you'll see a button that says Add to Profile. You click on that, a dialog box appears that allows you to name it. I'm going to name this Custom Hourglass. And I've now saved this as a profile. So in the future, I can use it. I'm just going to do a Bezier curve here, you guys. And I am going to apply my new hourglass profile to it. I'm going to thicken it up so you can see what's going on. And you'll see now I've got this kind of custom line that has a tapering profile to it. Does that make sense? Everyone got that? Okay.
Then you can make patterns, right?
Then you can make patterns out of those. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. Now you're starting to get the picture. There's all sorts of ways that you can use these tools to create really complex designs.
Did you get that swirl with the brush?
All I did was drew a path using my pen tool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then how do you make it go in there? Oh, you just.
Yeah.
There's a drop down.
Yeah, you save it using the profile drop-down menu here.
Is there a way to
And there's
get
a
those
button.
to apply to brushes?
Probably. You can apply profiles to brushes to make brushes even more complex, but I don't know how that would work, exactly.
Yeah,
But
'cause they stuck it on there and it doesn't do anything.
yeah, make sure it's thick enough though. If it's 1 point, it's going to have a profile, but it's going to be 1 point to like 0.2 points, and you're not going to be able to see it.
I'll check that right.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to review these things because we're going to start working with lines that have a little more of a hand-drawn look and feel. We're going to, I keep mentioning the paintbrush tool and the brushes we're going to be getting into to do illustration as well. But I do want to let you know that you can build these great little custom, profile things. And keep in mind, right, that this is like other objects. You can flatten transparency on that. And when I flatten the transparency, it's now become a shape, right? So this is a shape now. And what good is that? What good is a shape now that I have it? Well, I can use it like I do any other shape. I can use it to knock out of other shapes, split things into, there's all sorts of ways you can use these tools. And so I'm going to welcome you guys to do lesson 3 in the book. If you want to learn more about these, because you might want to take advantage of some of these, the shape builder tool and the profile tool for your future projects. All right. We're wrapping up a little bit early here, or actually a little bit late, because I was hoping you guys have a little bit of time to create your own floral motif. You're welcome to stay and do that for a bit if you'd like, but that's what I have for today. Everyone, I guess the weekend's coming up, so we'll see you on Tuesday. Just a reminder that on Tuesday we'll have a quiz covering lesson 6, I believe. 6, is it? Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
All right. And I will keep on working on getting that video and these videos. Oh, let me pause this. I can always clip it out after the fact.